Hello, hello, Irene. It's
Hi,
it's
it's
our
Andrew, right?
oh
Let me
video
see. Okay,
video.
there we go. You
Oh
can see me now?
yes, yes.
All right.
It's
How are you?
I am fine. It's a
That's good.
real
That's good.
it's a
Yes,
real
Irene.
pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to
Thank you
meet you too.
much for taking the time to join us today on our channel. I am really excited about this conversation because your journey in boxing is already inspiring many people. Today, on Boxing on Sundays, we have a very special guest, one of the rising fighters in American boxing. She is a two-time national Golden Gloves champion and a two-time international PAL champion. She is currently ranked among the top fighters in the United States and continues to build an impressive amateur record. Um, Irene, we are very happy to have you here today. Our audience loves learning about the real stories behind fighters. So, let's start from the beginning of your journey. How did boxing first enter your life?
Boxing first entered my life when I was about 14 to 15 years old. I was a freshman in high school. I previously played soccer before, and my mom wanted to get my brothers into it to help them to, just get in state shape, stay out of the streets, and me already kind of being a physical scholar in that way. I, said, Mom, let me try it. She was a little bit uneasy. I don't know, but after a little bit of push, she was like, okay, it's probably not going to last for her and just let her try it. So I tried it and I fell in love with the discipline. And ever since then, I stuck with it. It was a little bit before 2020 and COVID then had hit worldwide and everything was shut down. So I did pause on training for about a year and I felt something missing. And from me feeling that missing from my life, I was like, okay, like I actually love this sport. So I got back into it and ever since then, after maybe about 6 more months of consistently training and things like that, I had got my first fight and here we are.
Many champions say they discovered boxing almost by accident, but sometimes those accidents change everything. Your story might inspire young fighters around the world. What made you decide to stay in the boxing and take it seriously?
Um, for me, what made me really stick to it was the background that I come from. I come from a humble background where, I had a single mom. My dad's a drug addict, and watching both sides of my family have repeated life cycles of either being on the streets, being on drugs, or being a, young lady and being a single mom, I knew I had something more in my life. And ever since I was young, I knew I had something more for me. So seeing that this was an opportunity for me to take it further, especially given the natural talent I had because of my soccer background, I said, you know what do I have to lose anyways? Because I don't, compared to like other people who've been doing it since they've been six or, a little kid, they had that boxing history in their family and had that constant push. I never had a push. I never had anyone saying you had to do this, you had to do that. So, the only people were doing that was my coaches, the people in the gym. And once I actually saw that I started winning and, started beating girls who had a good, record in boxing, I was like, okay, like maybe I might be good at this and decided to just continue with it because at the end of the day, I really do have nothing to lose. So, yeah.
Every fighter remembers their first day in the gym. It is often a moment that changes their mindset forever. I am very curious about your first experience in the boxing gym. Do you remember your first sparring session?
I do remember my first sparring session. It was I think every fighter can relate to their first sparring session in the gym where it's like a humbling moment for them. And every time someone walks into a boxing gym, they see sparring happening, they're like, "Oh shoot, I want to get in the ring." Like, it kind of amplifies them. And my first sparring session, I was actually nervous because I was sparring with one of the girls who I kind of looked up to in that time. And I saw her as a heavy hitter. And when I got in there with her, before we even, touched up gloves or did anything like that, I was like, am I going to be able to take these hits? Like, I just didn't know what to expect. And I got in there and after you get hit with the first punch, you're just like, okay, it wasn't that bad. And you start listening to your coach and everything that you started learning and put it all together, and it was beautiful. So I remember my first sparring session. It was, not the best. I still look at these videos to this day of how stiff I was, but looking to myself now, it's like you've done so much growth and so much to be proud of.
Becoming a champion requires discipline and sacrifice. Not everyone is ready for that lifestyle, but you managed to win the global Golden Gloves twice, which is a huge achievement. What did winning the Golden Gloves mean to you personally?
Personally, now it means that I am capable of achieving a lot. In the moment, when I won my first Golden Gloves, I didn't realize how big of an accomplishment it was. I kind of just swept it under the rug a little bit because to me it was just another national win out the way. It was just, something, but everyone kept telling me, "Oh, this is a big achievement. This is, right below the Olympics as far as prestigious tournaments." And I kept thinking about it like there are so many champions who come from the US who have completed the Golden Gloves, and for me to do it twice in kind of the same but also separate weight classes, I started looking at it more as an achievement instead of just another tournament. So it does mean a lot to me because especially from, just the things that I had to go through just to even get to the tournament, it took a lot. And for me, it's more of the journey rather than the outcome that means a lot to me.
Championship titles are special moments in every fighter's life. They represent years of hard work and dedication. And you have already collected several important titles. Which victory in your career means the most to you so far?
Me, even though this fight kind of was maybe a little bit a while ago, it was probably my first fight that I had turned open, um, from novice to open, and I had did that at my eighth fight, maybe. So two fights before we're even supposed to turn open. I went to this tournament in Arizona, and I was going against the girl who was the number one in the nation. We weren't really fighting for that number one spot, but to me, just knowing that she was the best in the country at that time, beating her, um, meant a lot to me, especially that I first turned open. She had more seasoning in her, and I was definitely nervous, but I told myself if I don't do it now, then you will never be amongst the top. And that win would always stick to me because I vividly remember how proud I felt in that moment compared to a lot of other wins where it's kind of hard for you to feel proud, especially the higher you get in the elites because, everyone starts to be good. So the feeling of that in that moment probably was one of the ones that stuck with me throughout my whole journey.
Irene, we are really happy to have you on Boxing on Sundays today. Our audience loves hearing real boxing stories from fighters. Your amateur career already looks very impressive for such a young fighter. Do you remember your very first amateur fight and what you left before entering the ring?
Yes, I do remember my first fight. It was actually a controversial fight um because everyone had said that I got robbed. And this was before I even thought about pursuing boxing. It was just more of just for fun, just to try it out. And I remember how nervous I was. I was so nervous that I couldn't even eat. Even after I weighed in, I was so nervous. I had pits in my stomach and, knots, and I was so nervous. I was like telling one of my coaches, I don't know if I can do this. Like I'm so nervous. And he was just like, it's your first fight. Like you're gonna feel that way. And the second I heard the bell, um, everything, started happening and I was able to get into my flow state and did really well. In that fight, actually, I fought a lot off of my back foot and I was backwards fighting a lot. So I was dodging punches and, and sometimes in the amateurs that can get controversial just because it might look like someone is the aggressor. But I remember not getting even hit with one punch that day and just it looks so clean for someone's first fight and um just the performance alone I it was something to be proud of in that moment. So yeah, I vividly remember my first fight.
Every boxer remembers the moment when they realize boxing is not just a hobby, but a serious path. For many champions, that moment comes after their first victory. After which fight did you realize that boxing could become your future?
I guess I would say after my first Golden Gloves, again because so much people around me were telling me that it was such a big accomplishment at that time. And during my transition from, you know, being a 17-year-old to going into the elite weight class, it was a kind of a big transition for me just because I wasn't fighting girls who weren't that good anymore. I started fighting girls who, had been boxing for almost their whole life. So once I started seeing that it was something that I had to take serious, I told myself, this is something that I do want to commit to. And, from the camps to um, seeing people come in and out of the gym and, seeing that I was one of the only few left in the gym, I told myself like this is a journey that I want to take on. So it was probably after my first Golden Gloves when I realized like, this is something that I do want to take all the way.
You are great. Well done. I respect you. You are a two-time national Golden Gloves champion, which is one of the most respected amateur title in the United States. Winning that tournament is never easy because the level of competition is extremely high. What do you remember most from your first Golden Gloves victory?
I just remember actually my finals fight. The girl that I had fought in the finals was a girl that I had fought 3 months prior in the Olympic trials. And in the Olympic trials, I let that fight slip because um I got nervous. That's one of my weaknesses where I can be so good in sparring and my whole camp, and the second that it comes to fight time, my whole entire nervous system, gets out of control. And in the Olympic trials, I had let that one slip. And in my Golden Gloves in the finals day, it was either me or her that was gonna win the title. And fighting her, I told myself like, you already know how she fights. You already know in the first fight you fought her that you could have beat her. So just go out there, do your thing. And I went out there with so much fire and so much energy, and beating her, that was my accomplishment, to just get that back and prove to myself that I knew that I could beat her. So yeah, that was probably one of the most memorable moments within the whole experience of Golden Gloves, just to prove to myself I knew I could do something.
You also won the International PAL Championship twice, which is another major achievement in amateur boxing. Tournaments like that bring together some of the best young fighters in the country. How did those victories change your confidence as a fighter?
Um, I would say they changed my confidence for the sense that I can be in there with the highest girls. I'm not just someone that's gonna get tossed around. I'm gonna go, put out my competition, and even if I get nervous or have these little shakeups, I know that I belong in there, and that's the confidence that it gave me, because before I was fighting with the top girls or sparring with world champions, I told myself, well, like, yeah, I'm good, but I'm only good for like who's around me. But um having that confidence to go in there with anyone and not really care who is standing in front of me, that's the confidence that it brought me, is to just go in there and prove to them like they're in my game, I'm not in their game.
Your amateur record shows many fights in a short period of time. That means you gained experience very quickly. What do you think was the biggest lesson you learned from your early fights?
The biggest lesson I probably had to learn early on in my fights is that not to um let every loss get to your heart and not let every win get to your head, because the higher you go, again, the better the competition gets. So um the more that I started climbing up the ladder, the more I had to realize, losses happen, wins happen. It's all part of the journey, and to continue to grow no matter what, because even when you win, there's still room for improvement, and even when you lose, there's still room for improvement. And I learned that very quickly, just because I would look up to these other amateur fighters and see that they have this persona of, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, but I sometimes there's that insecurity that, they don't show, which is respectable, but I had to learn like where my footing was in um those environments.
You have a lot of bells behind your back. Please tell me how you got each of them. It's interesting to listen to each of your belts. How did you win them? What kind of finds are these? Six belts.
Um, So yeah, I have a lot of belts behind me. Two of them, I can move adjust my camera. There's a white one that you see over there and a gold one right here. These two are both from state Golden Gloves, and that pink one over there is from a breast cancer awareness show that I did. And two of these, this one next to the pink one right here, and then this one next to this gold one right here, is from SoCal tournament, and this one is from a tournament that I won that the girl in the number one in the nation in Arizona. And then this one actually, there's a funny story behind this one right here. It was actually a show that I did at this boxing gym, and I got robbed in that fight, and the everyone know that I got robbed. So the girl that I fought gave me her belt because she felt bad about the robbery that happened that day. And then these two were also from my first like fight tournaments. So yeah, more to come.
Soon we will have to make a separate room. The
Yeah.
belts will not fit. Which belt is in first place for you? The most valuable.
Probably my Golden Gloves ones, and they're not hanging up right now because they're heavy. I can go ahead and get them for you to show them. Um, but yeah, these are probably most memorable right here. This is the Golden Gloves from Oklahoma, and then this is the one from Detroit. And they have a lot of weight on them, so I can't really put them on the wall.
Whoa, this belt is very beautiful, like a
Yeah,
pro.
yeah.
Many fighters say the amateur ring is the best school for boxing. It teaches discipline, speed, and ring intelligence. What part of amateur boxing helped you grow the most as a fighter?
I definitely would say the opponents that I've had have helped a lot with my journey just because there's so many different styles that I've seen. And even just watching the fights alone and being in that presence, it's a different energy, you know, there's multiple people fighting at the same time. And you know, just being able to be in front of so many different people has definitely helped my experience a lot, especially with it only being 3 rounds. There's very little time to prove yourself in those 3 minute 3 rounds. So I'll definitely say my opponents helped, um, with this amateur experience.
Training is one of the most important parts of a boxer's life. Behind every victory, there are hundreds of hours in the gym. What does a typical training day look like for you?
Okay, so I'll run down today's training day actually. So today's training day, I go to the gym and I make sure that I roll out all my muscles to, make sure they're activated, nothing's sore, to prevent injury. And I start my warm up with 10 minutes of jump rope. And then I hopped on the treadmill for about 20 to 25 minutes. Then I hopped on the kind of the sprinter bike and cooled down off of my run. And I did about 3 to 4 rounds of shadow boxing. And then I gloved up and I did 3 rounds on the double end bag. I did 2 rounds on a heavy bag. And then I did 4 or 5 rounds with one of my coaches. And we did kind of like a tap sparring drill. So he had the mitts, I had the gloves, and I was, finding opportunities to hit him. And he was getting me in my weak points after I do the 4 rounds of that. I cool down again, do some more shadow boxing, do some drills, and then I do some weights and do a shoulder burnout. And then after that, the whole boxing workout, I refuel, get lunch, and I headed straight to my strength and conditioning training where we did some aerobic, a little bit of plyometrics, and speed drills for about an hour. And then I go in the sauna for about 30 minutes. And that's what a typical training day looks like for me.
You are only 21 years old, You already have more than 10 belts. How many hours a day do you train?
Typically 4 to 6. Yeah, 4 to 6. If it's not all straight in one 4 hour span, I will spread it out. So I'll do 2 hours, take a break, let my body rest 2 hours, and then go back again 2 hours after that.
Oof. Well, it's strong. Do you have a weekend?
You said, do I have a what? I'm sorry.
Do you have a weekend?
Every count
Weekend.
weekend?
Yes,
Oh, like do I train on the weekends? Or
yes.
sometimes my strength coach has like beach workouts where we do conditioning there. It's every Saturday 10 in the morning, and we do 1 hour of beach workouts, which helps conditioning, helps get your legs strong. So only on Saturdays, but I usually give Sundays like just active rest day or complete rest day.
Every fighter develops their own style in the ring. Some rely on speed, others on power or technique. How would you describe your boxing style?
I definitely would describe it as speed and technical. Right now I am trying to work power because, transitioning from amateurs to pros, having power is something you want to bring into the ring. So right now I would definitely say speed and technical, because I have fast hands, fast feet, and I put that together with my IQ and make sure that I'm, very skilled in there.
Mental strength is just as important as physical preparation in boxing. Fighters often face pressure before big fights. How do you mentally prepare yourself before entering the ring?
To do a lot of calming exercises. So, meditation, sitting alone with my thoughts. I journal every day. I listen to books. Just because, you know, as fighters, for me personally, I do experience a lot of pressure before fights, not even just in the boxing gym. I experience pressure, but just in my day-to-day life. I experience a lot of pressure and put under a lot of stress. So it is important to have these calming exercises to be able to go into the ring and have a clear head and a clear game plan to execute your mission.
Irene, every fighter usually has someone who inspired them to start boxing. Sometimes that inspiration comes from watching great champions. Who were your biggest boxing idols growing up?
Definitely one of them was Manny Pacquiao. During that era, I was um about 8 to 9 years old, and Manny Pacquiao, Mayweather, um, and etc. were very big at the moment, and watching those fights were kind of a nation to worldwide event to stream these boxing shows. But I really liked how calm Manny Pacquiao was and how dangerous he was in the ring. And having that switch and watching that and going to, Vegas to just, watch these fights, it was like just a different overall experience. So I would definitely say, you know, growing up, it was Manny Pacquiao. And as I got older and more educated in boxing, I really liked Lomachenko. I really liked before Tank Davis started getting older. I really liked his early days and watching how dangerous he was. Um and yeah, just those were my top three.
Lomachenko, my fellow countryman.
Yeah.
Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, uh, they are legendary boxers. Boxing fans around the world still talk about the legendary fight between Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Many people are now discussing the possibility of a second fight. Would you personally like to see Pacquiao versus Mayweather too?
I would, even though they are past their prime, I do think it'll be a good show for the boxing fans just to show that they still love the game, because there's only so much how far our bodies can produce, especially in combat sports. So, even though it might not be them in their best, prime and what we would want to see them in their prime, I think it would still be good for just boxing in general, just because it'll give us that nostalgia of, okay, let's bring this boxing back because boxing has changed over the years, and bringing that nostalgia back is sometimes good to um, reset the game.
Floyd Mayweather unfortunately did not come out against the prime Pacquiao, but their first fight was one of the biggest events in boxing history. Millions of fans had very high expectations for that fight. Why do you think that fight was so important for boxing?
I think there was a lot of people who one didn't they wanted to see Mayweather lose, and um Manny Pacquiao also did a lot of things for his country, and got a lot of pride and in his fans. And I think just those two matchups where someone, coming to bring his crowd behind them versus another crowd who wants to see him lose. Definitely, like, just springs up a lot of conversation in the boxing world and outside of boxing world, because even outside of people who really know boxing, people know who Pacquiao and Mayweather is, and everyone likes to see a good fight. So I think that's why it was very important to the sport, just because it was two very important fighters and personalities coming head to head.
Both fighters have completely different styles in the ring. One is known for speed and aggression, the other for defense and precision. Which style do you personally enjoy watching more?
I Even though I do, Manny Pacquiao was kind of my biggest inspirations. When I watch boxing today, with a new set of eyes, I do like watching a precision-based fighter, like Shakur, for example, because you're able to see the punches really connect and where they got them. So right now I would say it's probably precision based fighter, but before I knew anything about boxing, it was I like to see someone put some hands on someone.
If a second fight ever happens, many fans wonder how different it could be. Both fighters are no older and have much more experience. Do you think the result could be different in a rematch?
Um, I think it would be different, one, they are both again past their prime. Um, Two, I think that Manny probably, of course, learned from that night. And every time a great fighter learns from, whatever outcome or decisions that has happened a fight night, they know exactly what to do. And they always tell themselves, if I ever see this person in the ring again, this is XYZ, what I'm gonna do. Um, and there's not a lot of times where someone gets the win and they say, if I see this person again, I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. It's just more so of like, oh, I'll just beat him again. So I think there would be a different outcome.
Many young fighters study legendary fights to learn from them. Even tactical fights can teach very important lessons. Um, did you personally learn something from watching Pacquiao versus Mayweather 1?
Learned something. I learned that defensive fighting is a art in itself. Because a lot of people who don't tune into boxing will think that, a lot of people would say that Floyd was running away. But it takes a lot of energy in itself to be very skilled defensively. It takes as much out of you as punching someone does, because you have to constantly move, you have to constantly see the punches coming at you. So one thing I did take away was when you are defensive, you have to always look at the person who's in front of you, and also to never give up because Manny, despite having his challenges that night, he still has that spirit of like I'm not giving up, no matter what. So, and I think that is an important lesson, especially in boxing because um, one fight will take away someone's whole career and bring them down. So,
You compete in the flyweight division. That division is known for speed and technical boxing. What do you like the most about fighting in the flyweight division?
I like how a lot of girls they tend to be the same size as me, because a lot of times when you the bigger you go up in weight class, the more contrast you see within body types and, things like that. And someone who spars boys and stuff like that, who are of bigger composition of me, going into the fights and fighting girls who are like either my size or smaller, it's kind of fun because you're like, wow, like this is such a small frame compared to what I'm used to. So I guess I would say that's one of my favorite things of, having even competition with, my size, and as well as also the speed and the technical behind smaller weight classes and being able to test my skills with these girls just being, fast and technical.
You, you are doing a great job. Weight management is a big part of every boxer's preparation. Sometimes it can be one of the toughest parts of the sport. How difficult is it for you to stay in your weight category?
Say that it's only difficult to the extent that I do gain a lot of water weight, especially being a female fighter. Our bodies hold water a lot differently. So compared to the guys, I don't go up 20 pounds, 30 pounds and have to cut that much weight. I do stay within a 10-pound limit of my fighting weight. So if I'm walking around, I'll be around 120 to 123. So holding the weight is not that difficult, but in a smaller weight class, 10 pounds seems like a lot.
You have already won several important amateur titles. Two times national Golden Glove champ, two times international PAL champ, ranked 3 in the United States. Winning championships always brings new expectations. Which title in your career are the most proud of?
My second Golden Gloves because it's one thing to do it once and to defend your title is a very hard thing to do. And after that, I knew that there was a target on my back within the other girls in the nation. Um, having eyes on me and, probably watching me and, looking at me at fights. And I would say that was probably one of the better accomplishments was to just go back and do it again. And especially with the PAL tournament too, to do it again.
Winning the Golden Gloves tournament is a dream for many amateur fighters, but you managed to win it twice. What was the hardest fight during your Golden Gloves runs?
I would say the hardest fight probably was the finals of my second year in Golden Gloves, against this girl from, I believe, like Rocky Mountains or something. Her style was just a little bit aggressive and sloppy, and being someone who is technical and precise, it is very hard to maintain a consistent style with someone who constantly um, puts that pressure and brings the sloppiness out of you. So it was, she made the fight look a little bit sloppy. And for me, that's a difficult thing to digest just because being a technical fighter and making fights look pretty and making them look easy when someone makes it sloppy, it's like, kind of like that was a little bit tough.
Boxing styles are often shaped by a fighter's personality. Some fighters love pressure, others prefer counterpunching. Do you consider yourself more of an aggressive fighter or a tactical boxer?
I would definitely say technical. In some fights or some sparring sessions, I do try to be the aggressor just because you want to always practice it just in case you come across a time where you need to be aggressive. There's been fights where I have been aggressive and I like the fire it brings. It brings a whole different energy when you are the aggressor. But I personally like a technical bout just because I have a full chance to display my skills.
Irene, amateur boxing requires fighters to compete very often. That means every fight becomes a new lesson in the ring. What was the biggest lesson you learned from one of your toughest fights?
The biggest lesson I learned was definitely not to let somebody else's um experience or title get in the way of how I perform. Um in this past recent tournament that I did back in December, I fought Jennifer Lozano, and she was, a previous Olympian on the US team. And that just that title alone got into my head and affected my performance. And going home after that fight and that tournament, I told myself it was that same feeling again back in the Olympic trials where I knew I could have beat someone, but I let something get into my head. So, one of the biggest lessons for me is to continue to stay consistent with my confidence and um, not let not let anyone tear that down.
Speed is extremely important in the flyweight division. Fans love watching fast combinations and technical exchanges. Do you focus more on speed or power during your training?
Uh, right now, I would say definitely a little bit more power, just because, I've established that I have speed, and even when I'm a little bit heavier, I still have speed. So right now, my training is mostly power-based training.
Many fighters say footwork is the foundation of boxing. Good movement can completely change a fight. How important is footwork in your boxing style?
It's very important. I also would agree saying it is a foundation in my style, just because a lot of fights I have been a backwards fighter and made it so easily to fight backwards and still win the fight, fight forward, still win the fight, fight sideways and win the fight. Um, Footwork is everything. If your hands are not connected with your feet, then you're totally off balance, you're off rhythm, and you won't be able to set up someone with the good shots because they're not connected.
In Ukraine, they say that the wolf feeds the legs.
Yeah.
Every fighter has punches they trust the most. Some rely on the jab, others on combinations. What is your favorite punch to throw in a fight?
Definitely my jab or my overhand right. Overhand right just because I dip with my overhand right a lot, so it catches a lot of people and I'm able to get away and they didn't even know where that came from. My jab because the jab is so versatile. You can use it to set something up, you can use it to find range, you can use it behind a combination. You start it with your combination. The jab is very, very important.
Defense is just as important as offense in boxing. Great fighters know how to avoid punches and control distance. What defensive skills do you focus on the most in training?
Definitely uh catching punches with my right hand and slipping punches while still being able to stay in balance. Because a lot of people will find themselves doing head movement and having to reset after their head movement and not being able to punch because they focus so much on moving their head. But, moving your head again is just as important as offense, and combining it together is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Every champion has moments when they need to push through exhaustions. These moments often define a fighter's character. Have you ever had a fight where you had to dig very deep to win? It's If it's a few fights, tell me about them.
Yeah, so there was this one girl I had rematched about 4 times, and her style is aggressive, kind of like a Mexican style a little bit. And that style versus a slick technical boxer, it's a bound to be a good fight. And fighting her, I did get the wins all the times. However, with her constant pressure and never giving up despite how many combinations I threw on her, no matter what I hit her with, and still coming at me like a truck. Definitely I had to dig deep in those moments because if I were to get caught in my weak points, it definitely would had a different outcome in the fight. So definitely fighting her were the moments I had to dig deep because she just put that constant pressure. And my first nationals was another tough fight where I had to dig deep. It was my first ever national tournament, and I fought this girl who kind of had a similar style. However, she just like constant punches. Like she had gave you no time to breathe, and that time I had to really, really dig deep because moving takes a lot of energy out of you, and getting punched and punching, it's a lot.
Preparation for a fight takes weeks of discipline. Everything from diet to recovery becomes important. What is the hardest part of a fight camp for you?
I definitely would say recovery just because of the normal life that I have outside of boxing brings a lot of stress. So being able to sleep and find that recovery is a little bit tough, and prioritizing that is probably harder than um, other aspects of camp.
Every boxer dreams about big fights and big arenas. Those moments can define a career. What kind of fight would you consider your dream fight?
Um, Honestly, any fight with any girl who would be in the top at that moment would be a dream fight for me. I guess in a certain arena, it probably would be Madison Square Garden, Las Vegas, or even in Japan because I know they have a big boxing um fans out there and community. So I also love Japanese culture, so being able to, go out there and, show my skills would probably be pretty cool.
Irene, the Olympic Games are the biggest dream for many amateur boxers. The 2028 Olympics will take place in the United States. Is competing at the 2028 Olympic Games one of your biggest goals?
Yes, it probably one of my biggest goals just because it's in my hometown in LA and that's very big for someone to fight in the Olympic Games, especially it being in their backyard and being able to win gold and do it for the people would be more than an accomplishment in its own.
Competing at the Olympics in your home country must feel very special. Millions of fans will be watching those fights. How motivating is it for you that the Olympics will be in the United States?
It's exciting. Though outside of boxing, I think about the traffic and everything that it's gonna bring, the business that it's gonna bring as well to everyone here in LA. We have so many different arenas, stadiums, um, you know, all those things that are gonna be in LA. So this despite it from being super exciting, it also is like I can't imagine how much traffic is gonna be around.
Many, many Olympic champions later become great professional fighters. The Olympics can completely change a fighter's career. What would it mean to you to win an Olympic medal?
It would mean that no matter what, I can set my mind to do anything, even though that's been the motto from the get-go. And for a lot of different titles I have won. But being someone from the beginnings that I have and being able to do that and prove not only to myself, but um, millions of others who probably resonate with my story, would inspire them to do something for themselves and for their families.
For many fighters, representing their country is a huge honor, especially at the Olympic Games. What would it feel like to represent Team USA at the Olympics?
It would it would be and feel amazing. It would be for the people um to bring back the pride of, being from wherever you're from, being a fighter who, lives in the US and just having its own conflicts and its own doing that would bring a different pride out of me than it would in just, fighting against people within my own country and just getting that international experience would um is a win in itself as well.
100%. The road to the Olympics is never easy. Fighters must go through many qualifiers and tournaments. What do you think will be the biggest challenge on the road to the 2028 Olympics?
Uh I guess the biggest conflict that I probably would find myself against is learning international styles because I only find styles in the US, so finding styles internationally and really studying those styles and how to fight those styles would probably be a conflict, but not anything that I can't overcome.
Fans love watching Olympic boxing because the energy is incredible. Those fights often create future champions. Do you watch past Olympic boxing fights for inspiration?
I
Muhammad
do.
Ali, George Foreman, Lennox Lewis, and others.
Yeah, I definitely do. I when I need to refuel myself, especially before a fight or a tournament that I have, I definitely find myself watching um all of the Shakur Olympic his matches, Floyd's, De La Hoya's, Tyson's, um a lot of those Lomachenko's, you know watching those is very inspirational, especially right before it's time to fight because that crowd is just unbelievable.
Oof. Lomachenko won the Olympics twice.
Yeah.
Boxing is not only about physical strength, it is also a mental chess match inside the ring. How important is ring IQ in modern boxing?
I definitely would say that's the way the boxing is nowadays. Instead of it being a heart based fight, it definitely is an IQ based fight in a lot of fights, and it's very important because people are starting to get smart in the ring and starting to watch out for the other person's next move and plant their next move. So I definitely would say ring IQ is very important.
Fans always love fighters who show heart in the ring. Those fighters never give up. What does having heart in boxing mean to you?
Having heart means being able to keep pushing no matter what, being able to even present yourself and show to the crowd who you are and who your personality is. Because in amateur boxing, when you are given a specific uniform to fight in, it's kind of hard for people to see your personality off the bat. So being able to be vulnerable with the fans and the judges and the referee and show people who you are, um, and bring that to the ring, is what heart is to me.
You are a person with a big heart. Some fighters like to pressure their opponents from the first round. Others prefer to study their opponents first. What is usually your strategy in the early rounds of a fight?
Usually to use my jab and distance a lot and find um where my range is, how to find my range in there and being out of their range, and also finding what shots they are vulnerable to, in early rounds because the earlier the rounds, the sharper the people are. So being able to find shots where you can hit them where they're their sharpest when they start slowing down is definitely the moments to strike. So just setting it all up at first and testing it out.
When do you usually feel most confident during a fight?
Usually after the first round, I start finding confidence, and that's kind of how I know how a fight would go. Um, so around the second round is when I usually start to find my confidence, my rhythm, and do my thing.
Boxing requires a lot of sacrifice outside the ring. Fighters often dedicate most of their life to the sport. What sacrifices have been the hardest for you in your boxing journey?
I guess definitely prioritizing my rest has been like probably the biggest sacrifice because, you know, being someone who works outside of boxing as well, you have to find time to make sure you're getting the right recovery, um, to make sure you're, well enough to perform because your rest is just as important as your training. And finding that sacrifice was hard because usually other fighters have problem like, cutting out certain foods or, getting away from a certain lifestyle. And for me, it was mostly just rest.
The flyweight division has many talented fighters. Competition there is always very strong. Who are some fighters in your division that you respect the most?
Um, Probably Noelle Haro. She's about, I think, the second or the top girl in the nation, and as well as Jennifer Lozano. I've fought both of them, and I know it takes a great amount of effort just to even get at the top. So, those fighters I respect. Even opponents that I have beaten, I've also respect because I know a lot of times when someone is in front of me, I can feel their nervous energy and being nervous before a fight, I've been there. So, it takes a lot to be in that ring. So, definitely my most respect goes to the top girls in my weight division and um consistently everyone I have respect for.
Before these questions, I want to say something important. Your journey is boxing is already inspiring many young fighters. What motivates you the most when you enter the boxing gym every day?
I guess I would say just being there itself is what motivates me, walking into the gym and preparing myself for the workout and for me to learn something and absorb energy is probably what motivates me to keep going because um it takes a lot for someone to just, walk in the boxing gym and continue to work out. So just being in the gym alone motivates me.
I really admire your dedication to boxing. Not everyone has the discipline that you show. What is the hardest part of being a boxer that people outside the sport do not see?
Making the sacrifices definitely, especially being a young 21-year-old here in the States, uh to have a specific lifestyle to be young and be free is kind of the standard here in the States. And making certain sacrifices and saying no to a lot of things because for the love of the game is probably a lot of things that a lot of people who aren't an athlete alone would understand.
Fans always want to know what champions think about the future. What do you think women's boxing will look like in 10 years?
Oh, I think it would probably start being as popular as the males now because as you see today, like there's a lot of light on women's boxing and people are being a lot more interested, and in 10 years they're going to start realizing that there's a whole world in itself for female fighters and start seeing that we're just as entertaining as the guys and that we bring energy, we bring skill, we bring heart to the table as well. So I think it's gonna flourish in 10 years for women boxing.
Your belts on the wall are just the beginning. Many young girls dream of becoming boxers today. You are already an example for them. What advice would you give to a young girl who wants to start boxing?
I definitely would advise her to not get discouraged being a female be in the gym because a lot of times, a female walking into a boxing gym, you're one of the only few females in there, if not the only female in there. So, um, not getting discouraged is an important thing I had to carry with me because sometimes men will tear you down. Not all men will, but sometimes, you come across that. And it's very important to still continue to keep your eyes focused on the game.
Champions always think about legacy, about what they leave behind in the sport. What legacy do you want to leave in boxing?
The legacy that I would like to leave is to never give up despite the challenges and the trials in life because everyone's life is different and everyone has trials of their own that affects them in any way. So being able to still do that on top of being a prestigious athlete is a s- um and a legacy that I would like to leave because it's hard and a lot of people would admire that and use that for fuel.
Boxing fans around the world will watch this interview. Many of them are young fighters. What message would you like to send to boxing fans around the world?
Um, to whatever it is that you have in the plan of boxing to just take it all the way. Whatever you want to do with it, it opens many doors, whether you want to be a trainer, be a great student, be involved in fights, be a, referee, a judge, whatever it is, do it for the love of the game and continue to also encourage people, no matter what your story is.
Thank you so much for this amazing interview. It was truly an honor to speak with you today. You are a true champion and an inspiration for many people. On my YouTube channel, Boxing on Sundays, we wish you great success in your career. And we truly hope to see you become an Olympic champion at the 2028 Olympic Games in the United States. Thank you again and good luck in the ring.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye bye.